Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Monday. I hope you all are doing well. Everton's managerial search continues. We haven't really had much of an update, to be fair, from over the weekend. Not much has been going on, as to be expected from Everton, really. You can tell that, they put everything down on Friday night and they sort of thought we'll move all of that and we'll wait until Monday. I expect this week to be quite a big week in regards to the manager and the managerial appointments and who it's going to be that comes in. However, it is only Monday afternoon, so at this point we haven't got any real big update. There was a couple of sort of murmurs and rumours over the weekend, one being that Eddie Howe is apparently wanting to put himself in pole position for the Everton job. He is pushing for the job apparently, and that was according to some journalists in England. So according to the Daily Express, Eddie Howe is pushing hard for the vacant manager's role at Everton. Duncan Castles was also discussing the managerial role over the weekend, and he said that Bill Kenwright would prefer to see either David Moyes or Roberto Martinez return to the club as manager, which just makes me absolutely just want to put my head in my hands and start crying, to be honest with you. There was a couple of other rumours. Calcio Mercato over in Italy said that Everton are interested in Claudio Ranieri as a possible replacement for Carlo Ancelotti. But overall, nothing really sort of solid, no sort of solid reports or solid rumours regarding, who it's going to be to come in as the new manager. The rumours regarding Nuno Espirito Santo have calmed down slightly. It's been linked over the last 24 hours or so with a potential move to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish was liking tweets on Twitter yesterday that was suggesting hints about Nuno joining them. So look, we don't really know ultimately, again from Friday afternoon really, when we sat down and we spoke about why Marcel Brands should be, steering the recruitment and who it's going to be. We haven't really heard much of an update from them. Like I said, Claudio Ranieri's name's been thrown in the hat from Italian media. And Eddie Howe seems to be pushing for the job himself, which is nice of Eddie Howe, to be fair, that he wants to put himself in pole position for the Everton job. I might phone Farhad Moshiri up, to be honest, and go, do you know what? I'll throw myself in pole position for the Everton job as well, shall I? If Eddie Howe can just say I want it, then I may as well just say I want it as well. It seems like we can all do that, can't we? So, like I said, no solid updates over the last sort of, 48 hours or so over the weekend, which isn't surprising, really, is it? Let's be honest, it's not surprising that we haven't heard anything really solid since Friday morning, Friday afternoon time. Like I said, I would expect this week to be quite a big week in regards to the managerial appointments. I think the club will have hoped to have appointed a new manager by the end of this week. Hopefully it's before the next week, because we really need to start to sort of get our heads down and look at preparing for the next season, bringing in transfers, etc. And obviously we need to the club feel like they need to bring in a new manager before they do look at bringing in players, which again, we spoke on Friday about Marcel Brands, and how maybe Marcel Brands could start the recruitment process of players whilst the search for the new manager is going on, rather than waiting for the new manager to come in, because obviously Marcel Brands will have his players that he wants to bring in, and that won't change regardless of who the manager is, i.e. Ben Godfrey. Last summer Carlo Ancelotti had never seen Ben Godfrey play football before, and Marcel Brands wanted him, so went out and bought him, and would have bought him whether Carlo Ancelotti was at the club or not. But like I said, there's not been any real solid update, so we didn't want to come on the live stream and sort of sit down and just do an hour of trying to stretch out Eddie Howe saying that he wants to join Everton, or try and stretch out a rumour from Calcio Mercato regarding Claudio Ranieri, which is probably a load of nonsense. Like I said, we've been linked with about 40 managers over the last sort of 4 or 5 days or so since Carlo Ancelotti left on Tuesday, and the majority of those links will be complete and utter nonsense. The majority of them will just be journalists thinking, right, okay, let me just pick a name that, pick a manager that's currently out of a job that would sort of suit a club like Everton, and let's put them together, and therefore loads of people will come on the article, loads of people are going to click it, and I'm probably going to get loads of money off it. Not me, that's what the journalists will be thinking. But there will be 2 or 3 names that we've been linked with that will run and will sort of head that that potential for the new Everton manager, and I think we'll see 2 or 3 names sort of running away with themselves over the next couple of days or so. And by that I mean you'll leave a lot of the names that we've been rumoured with, you won't see much more of over the next couple of days, in my personal opinion, and you'll start to see more of certain other names, whether it be Nuno Espirito Santo, whether it be Eddie Howe, whether it be David Moyes. Who knows who it'll be? I don't know who it'll be, but I do believe that come Wednesday, Thursday, it'll be a case of one of three, sort of options, or one of two options rather than one of 40 options, let's be perfectly honest. And hopefully that is the case, because let's be honest, like I said, this process can't go on for much longer. I know Everton need to take the time and employ the right manager and employ the right person to come in and do the job, but we don't want to be sitting here, a week, 2 weeks before pre-season's starting, or 2 weeks before 3 weeks before the season starting, sort of still looking for a manager. This process needs to be thorough and it needs to be done properly, but really and truly we could do with somebody coming in sooner rather than later. But like I said, I didn't want to sit here and just stretch out a live stream talking about, let's be honest, not much of an update in the last 24 hours, because we haven't had much of an update. So I thought I'd sit down and talk about the players today, because there was an interesting sort of article or an interesting statement that was put out on The Athletic a couple of days ago when Carlo Ancelotti had left the football club, and it was regarding the players and how the players were feeling about Ancelotti's exit. And we sort of read over it and thought, yeah, it's not surprising, but I sort of skipped over it at the time because there was rumours left, right and centre about Nuno coming in and Eddie Howe coming in and David Moyes, this, that and the other. But I thought we'd go back to it today because it is really, really interesting. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin obviously played for England last night in their last friendly before the Euros, and won a penalty and should have taken it if it wasn't for Jordan Henderson somehow thinking he's an half decent footballer. I don't know where he got that impression from. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin had come out and had some words to say before the England game as well, which sort of left Evertonians thinking, ooh, this isn't, it's not necessarily the greatest thing to say going into an international tournament, certainly not from an Everton point of view. So I thought we'd talk about the players today and how Carlo Ancelotti's impact could have, or what Carlo Ancelotti's exit, the impact that could have on the current playing squad. Now, this sort of article or statement that I'm referring to was put out by The Athletic on the 4th, which I believe was Wednesday, maybe Thursday morning, Friday morning it was, regarding obviously Carlo Ancelotti's exit. So before this, we just had Carlo leaving, and then loads of sort of names of managers that could potentially come in and replace Carlo Ancelotti, and we hadn't really heard anything from the players. The players hadn't really wished Carlo Ancelotti well on social media. I think Thierry Small was the only player that really put a post up for Carlo Ancelotti thanking him. So the squad really, albeit, understandably they're all on international duty, so it's not like they're all sort of in Finch Farm going, oh my god, what do we do now? We hadn't really heard from any of the players. So anyway, coming from The Athletic on Friday morning, they said that most of the Everton players were said to be gutted and others left disappointed. So gutted and disappointed at the news of Carlo Ancelotti's exit. Richarlison being one who took the news badly. James Rodriguez's Everton future is also in doubt. And then they followed that on by saying some big name Everton players will now contemplate their future at the club after Ancelotti's recent departure. Now this obviously, again, like I said, was something that we didn't skip over at the time. You sort of look at it and go, hang on, that's not the greatest, is it? We've just lost our manager. We already knew 2 or 3 weeks ago, prior to Carlo Ancelotti leaving, that this squad needed heavy amounts of investment anyway if we're going to do anything next season, i.e. challenge for the top 6 or challenge for Europe, whatever it might be. This squad needed drastic improvement. Now we've lost the manager that was going to take us forward, and we need to go and replace him. And now, very reliable sources like The Athletic are coming out and saying that maybe some of Everton's big name players, are contemplating their futures because of Carlo Ancelotti's exit. Now, big name could be, again, it's a very vague statement, isn't it? Big name could mean players that are on a lot of money. Big name could mean our best players. Big name could be Luca Dean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, James, or it could be, again, I don't know, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Alex Iwobi, because they're the players that are on sort of or at the top of the list in regards to wages. But one thing that it really isn't good for is it shows that there's sort of a disconnection in the squad, within the squad now, and there's sort of obviously a group of players who don't feel like their future sits at Everton Football Club, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not massively surprised at that, to be honest with you. We will talk about a couple of players individually in a moment, but I'm not massively surprised that there's certain players that now feel that because of Carlo Ancelotti's exit, they mightn't be suited to play at Everton next season, or they mightn't want to play at Everton next season. like I said, a couple of names were mentioned there. James Rodriguez, Richarlison being two that sort of stand out. Firstly, Richarlison, I think, was liking posts from Carlo Ancelotti saying he'd rejoined Real Madrid. James Rodriguez obviously is only here because of Carlo Ancelotti. Wouldn't be here without Carlo Ancelotti, and he's openly said that himself. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, of course, come out and said a few comments before the England game yesterday, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it doesn't massively surprise me that there's now, you know, certain Everton players who are sort of thinking twice about staying at Everton, and this is my biggest worry at the moment with Everton Football Club. It's not necessarily losing Carlo Ancelotti. It's not necessarily needing to go out and bring in a new manager. It's more at the fact that this would be the perfect opportunity if a top player wanted to leave Everton, i.e. a Luca Dean, i.e. a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, i.e. a Ben Godfrey, and not that I think any of those three players will leave this summer, but if they wanted to leave, this would be the perfect excuse for them to go, yeah, you know, I'm going to get off because I don't really know where the club's heading in the future. I don't really know what the plan is. I don't really know where we're going, because Carlo's left, and you know, who knows what the new manager will be like and how he'll work. And realistically, look, I'm very much a fan that is of that mindset that if you're not happy at Everton Football Club and you don't want to be here, then leave. We don't want players here that aren't happy. And listen, Carlo Ancelotti come out and said that himself, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, you know, just before the end of the season. He said if there's any players in this squad that aren't happy at Everton Football Club, then they can leave. And then he ended up getting off himself because it was clear he wasn't happy at the football club. But I understand, and I am a fan that sort of sits at that same opinion, that if players aren't happy and don't want to be here, then they should move on. But I also sort of see it from the other side as to that, can Everton really afford? And again, I'm just sort of throwing ideas out there. I'm not by any means or by any stretch of the imagination saying that I think these players will leave that I'm going to mention, but can Everton afford for Luca Dean and Dominic Calvert-Lewin and James Rodriguez and Richarlison to all leave the football club this summer? Now, some might say, yeah, we can, because we'd get a hell of a lot of money from those players and we can go and reinvest that money in better areas, i.e. bring in a younger left-back than Luca Dean who is, you know, can do as good of a job and would cost a lot less money, or bring in, you know, a striker that's maybe a little bit more clinical than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, etc., etc. And I get that, but then that all falls on Everton's recruitment being good enough to replace those players. And at the moment, do any of us have any faith that our recruitment side of things is good enough to go and, you know, sort of replace those players if they were to make that decision to leave? We already seen Luca Dean being linked with PSG a couple of weeks ago. Now, I know Luca Dean signed a new contract, you know, a couple of months ago and spoke about how Everton's like a perfect wedding and how it's brilliant for him. But let's be honest, if the last week or so has showed us anything, and I feel very naive and very silly, really, because I know a lot of people felt like this for years and years, and a lot of people will be older than me and have felt like this because of previous situations. But Luca Dean coming out and saying that Everton are like a perfect wedding and he loves being here and it's a family club and he wants to see his future here and this, that, the other, does that make me, am I 100% sort of confident that Luca Dean will be an Everton player going into next season? No, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if PSG comes sniffing back in for Dean and he left, to be honest, because again, like I said, over the last week we've very literally seen a situation where somebody, i.e. a manager, one of the greatest managers to ever, you know, grace the game, has come out and give us all of this spiel about how he wants to be at Everton for the long run and he wants to stay in and he loves the football club and this, that and the other, and then at the first opportunity he's got off. So it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility for Luca Dean to leave the football club, even though he's saying it's like a perfect wedding and he loves the club, etc., etc. Not that I think he will leave, by the way, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised, and this would be the perfect excuse for Luca Dean to go, look, you know, Carlo left, I didn't really know where the club was going, and this was a big chance for me to go and play consistent football at one of the biggest clubs in the world. Again, I'm just using that because he was linked with PSG. I'm not saying that he's going to go to PSG or that, you know, he's been linked again. He hasn't. It's probably just a nonsense link in the media, but it's just an example I'm using. And again, like I said, for as much as I am of the thought process and the mindset, you know, Jason says it in the comments, I agree, any Everton players not want to be at Everton can go. We do not need players like this. I agree with that, absolutely. Phil says, Cam, if players want to go, they know where the door is. The club will still be there as long as we're all dead. Exactly, and I get that, and I understand that completely, and I do, and like I said, I'm very much of that mindset of that. If you don't want to be here, whether you're Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Luca Dean, Ben Godfrey, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Alex Iwobi, I think I've said Richarlison, Alan, Decore, Yerry Mina, whoever you are, if you don't want to be at Everton Football Club, then go. We don't want you to be here. And I get that, and I understand that mentality, and like I said, I very much agree with that. But I also think there could be a lot of players that are sort of thinking that way this summer, and can we really afford to lose 4 or 5 of those players, especially if we're going to do anything next season. Now you might say, well, no, Cam, we can't afford to lose them if we're going to do anything next season, but if we lose them, then maybe we have to submit that we're not going to do anything next season and we just go again the season after, and that's fair enough, and that is fair enough, but again, it just adds sort of issues on top of issues, doesn't it, really? And look, like I said, the Athletic coming out there and stating that Richarlison is one specific player who seemed to take the news quite badly. Now, Richarlison splits opinion with Evertonians, and I mean in regards to his attitude and his sort of whether or not fans think he wants to be here and he wants to perform at Everton Football Club. Now, I flip-flop with Richarlison. I flip-flop between, do I think Richarlison's a player that sometimes looks like he doesn't want to be here and he'd rather be somewhere else? Yes. Do I think sometimes Richarlison's just a little bit naive and a little bit sort of immature and silly and maybe, you know, likes some posts on social media that he shouldn't really be liking, or maybe acts in a certain way on the pitch when you think he should mature a little bit? Yeah. And this is me worry with Richarlison is that you know, a lot of Evertonians, again, will be of the minded that if Richarlison wants to go sell him, he only scored, 7 Premier League goals last season. He didn't have as great as the seasons, and I get that. One thing I think we shouldn't forget is that Richarlison was our best player for 2 years on the bounce, and if it wasn't for his goals, we'd have been in serious trouble. Let's not forget as well, 12 months ago, Carlo Ancelotti openly come out himself and said that he'd spoken to Richarlison and he'd asked Richarlison to give him another year to show that, we can be a team that are fighting in Europe, and that was open. That was out in the open that Carlo Ancelotti had a conversation with Richarlison about staying at Everton Football Club for an extra year, and Everton showing that Everton can match Richarlison's ambitions. And I want to talk about ambition a little bit later on in the stream when we talk about another specific player, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's come out and mentioned his ambition as well. And ambition's a big word, I think, when we're talking about Richarlison. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate that one. If you could share the stream as well, it would mean a great deal. But let's not forget that 12 months ago, Richarlison had a conversation with Carlo Ancelotti, and Carlo Ancelotti come out and asked, openly said that he'd asked Richarlison to give him another year at the football club to try and, prove that we can be a team that match Richarlison's ambitions. So would it massively surprise me if Richarlison turned around this summer and said, do you know what, I'm 23, 24 years old, I should be playing Champions League football. I'm a starter in the Brazil national team. He's already won a Copa America with Brazil at his age. He scored a lot of Premier League goals. He's had a lot of Premier League goal involvements. In his 2 years at Everton, or 3 years at Everton, and his his year at Watford as well. Let's be honest. Do we blame Richarlison for thinking he's good enough to play European football? I don't. I don't think there's a lot of players in this Everton team that are good enough to play in Europe, but I think Richarlison's good enough to play in Europe. I think Luca Dean's good enough to play in the Champions League. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's good enough to play in Europe. So, if Richarlison comes out and says, I want to leave because I want to be playing in Europe, I couldn't really hold that against him, because he said the same thing last season, or he didn't say he wanted to leave, but obviously there was sort of murmurs and rumours around the club because Carlo Ancelotti wouldn't have felt the need to sit down with him and talk to him about staying at the football club if he thought that it wasn't a situation. Carlo Ancelotti obviously thought 12 months ago that there was a chance Richarlison could leave because he felt that the club couldn't match his ambitions, so he felt like he had to sit down with him and have that conversation, and he did, and he come out and he was very open about that. The thing about liking Carlo Ancelotti's post, and again, this is where we have to be careful with what we're reading online and in the newspapers and stuff, and with specific journalists, because it's so easy. It was the easiest rumour that when I seen it the other day, and by the way, I don't believe it. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Richarlison was linked with a move to Real Madrid a couple of days ago. Apparently, Carlo Ancelotti wants to bring Richarlison to Real Madrid. Do I think Carlo Ancelotti's a fan of Richarlison? Yes. Do I believe that rumour whatsoever? Absolutely not, because it's the easiest transfer rumour to make up ever. What you've done there is you've looked at Richarlison, you've looked at the article from The Athletic stating that Richarlison was quite unhappy. Now, yes, that might mean that's because he's got a brilliant relationship with Carlo Ancelotti, or it might just mean that, he's a little bit unhappy that things have got to start again and he's got to work under a new manager and he was just getting settled with Ancelotti. But they've looked at that article, they've looked at the fact that that Richarlison liked Carlo Ancelotti's Instagram post of him saying he's rejoining Real Madrid, which again, I get that some fans mightn't like that and might say it's a bit distasteful. I understand that, I really do. But let's be honest, Richarlison is, I don't want to say he's an immature guy because I don't know him personally, and like I said, I've never met him and I've never had a conversation with him, but he comes across sometimes as maybe a little bit naive, maybe a little bit young, and he hasn't quite got that sort of not footballing experience as per se, but, that experience of being in the limelight and knowing what to do and what not to do, and maybe what to say in an interview and what not to say, or what Instagram post to like and whatnot. I think Richarlison just sees a post and goes, oh, I like that, yeah, and he probably looked at it and went, oh, I liked Carlo, it's sad that he's leaving, but I like him and he had a good relationship with him, so I like that post because he's happy. It's like the age-old, don't know if you ever seen the Brazilian players, they all like each other's Instagram posts, and there was uproar with them lot across the park in February because Richarlison posted a picture of him after the Merseyside derby scoring, the picture of him celebrating at Anfield, and I think Firmino and maybe Alisson liked it or something, and there was uproar from their fans, why are Firmino and Alisson liking pictures of Richarlison, this, that and the other, when in the reality of the situation all it was two international teammates liking a fellow international teammate's picture. Now, in hindsight, they probably shouldn't have done it, because I'd understand if it was the other way around. If Richarlison liked an Instagram post from Roberto Firmino, if he just scored the winner at Goodison Park, I'd be absolutely fuming as well. But it doesn't mean that Richarlison wants to play for Liverpool and wants to leave the football club. It just would mean that he's a little bit silly and he hasn't really thought about what he's doing. And I think that was what this situation was. And again, the media or whoever the journalist was that, linked Richarlison to Real Madrid, they're seeing that. He's liked the post. He's seen that the Athletic have said that Richarlison was a little bit unhappy, and they've basically gone, right, okay, we'll link Richarlison to Real Madrid, and we'll say Carlo Ancelotti likes him, so wants to bring him back. And they'll have gotten absolutely shite load of clicks from that. They'll have gotten shite loads of attention, shite loads of traffic to their websites and their media posts because of that link, when in reality, it mightn't have anything in it whatsoever. Now, it might do, and Richarlison might be thinking, oh, I'd love to go to Real Madrid. Why wouldn't he? He's a young Brazilian lad who's grown up. Again, Richarlison's story is very, very open. He spoke numerous times about, having at one stage in his life where he had somebody pointing a gun to his head, and, he had to come away from poverty, and football saved his life, and this, that and the other. So he's probably grown up dreaming of playing for Real Madrid or dreaming of playing for Barcelona, and I get that. But again, it's such an easy link. It really, really is such an easy link, and I really don't believe it in one bit whatsoever. And I think Richarlison, like I said, he's a very emotionally driven guy, not just footballer, but I think he's a very emotionally driven person. And you saw his goal against Wolves and what that sort of meant to him at Goodison Park, to score again in front of the fans, and the celebration and the laughing and the not the laughing, sorry, the punching the badge, and you could see the emotion sort of flow out of his body as soon as that header hit the back of the net, and it was a great finish. And you look at situations like that and you think, hang on, this lad loves playing for Everton, this lad wants to be at Everton for a long, long time, he loves this football club. He's on international duty a couple of weeks after that post, putting pictures of himself in an Everton kit, and you're thinking, hang on, he wants to stay here for the long run, he loves being here, he loves Everton. But then you're hearing rumours a couple of days later about him wanting to join Real Madrid, and you're seeing him liking Carlo Ancelotti's Instagram post, and us as fans and us as sort of Evertonians and local Evertonians who've supported the club all of our lives are thinking, why are you liking his post, why are you even following him, why are you even getting involved with him? But Richarlison, like I said, is a young, naive footballer who hasn't really, I don't think, got that experience yet to know, hang on, if I like this is going to give a bad impression off to Evertonians, or this could be seen in that way. He's probably just gone, I had a decent relationship with Carlo while he was here, I quite liked him, he liked me, so I'll give that a like. And meanwhile, behind all of that, there's uproar from all of us, but really, he's not really thought of any of that. He's just thought, I like that post, so I'll give it a like. That's what I see with the Richarlison situation. Now, if Richarlison leaves Everton this summer, I don't necessarily think it's because of Carlo Ancelotti, to be honest with you. I don't. I think it's so easy to say Richarlison's going to leave Everton this summer because Carlo Ancelotti's left, when in reality, any journalist or any newspaper that's printing that out, go and look at Richarlison 12 months ago, when apparently he said to Carlo Ancelotti, I'll give you another year. I'll stay here for another year to prove we can get in Europe. So is he leaving because Carlo Ancelotti's leaving, or is he leaving because 12 months ago he said, if we're not playing European football, I want to leave? Now, Richarlison mightn't leave. Richarlison might go completely the opposite way and go, I love this football club, I care for this football club, the fans have given a lot to me, and I want to show them a little bit back now when we're in a bad situation and there's no manager and the manager's left and the fans are all sort of worried about what the future holds for us. I'm going to be one of those players that sticks it out. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to put my personal ambitions to one side, and I'm going to stay here and fight for this football club because I love this football club, and I do think he does love the club. But would I be surprised if he left? No, I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if he left, because football, there's no loyalty in football whatsoever, and Richarlison's not an Everton fan. He's not grown up an Everton fan. He's not grown up dreaming of playing for Everton. He's probably grown up dreaming of playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona. And if he did leave, fans would be fuming. Of course they would, and fans would be saying, oh, get him out because he doesn't want to be here, get him out the door. And like I said, I am of that opinion that everyone else is at, that if you don't want to be in and you're not happy at Everton, then leave the football club. If you don't want to play for the club, then go. But if Richarlison leaves, none of us can honestly sit here and be surprised by that, because this is a lad who 12 months ago said if we don't finish in Europe, or Carlo Ancelotti come out apparently, and we know Carlo Ancelotti's lied before, so maybe this was another lie, but come out and said that Richarlison is going to give him another year. And that was last season, and again we finished 10th this season. So I really like Richarlison, I do, and you might say, oh Cam, you're being a naive Evertonian and you're sticking up for a naive Everton player, and maybe that's the case. But I do like Richarlison, and I don't think that him liking a picture of Carlo Ancelotti on social media was done in any other way or in any other sort of reason as to just because he likes a picture of Carlo Ancelotti, or he likes Carlo Ancelotti and he had a good relationship with him. Now, does that mean that he's going to go to Real Madrid? Not necessarily, no. If Real Madrid are genuinely interested in Richarlison, and Real Madrid have got 80, 90, 100 million pounds to give us for him, because that's how much I'd want for him, and you might say he's never worth that, Cam, he's not worth that. You take Richarlison's goals out of Everton and we are absolutely screwed. And forget that he didn't have a great season last season. He scored 7 goals. He was our second highest top goal scorer below Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You take those 7 goals away from Everton, and where do we finish? We don't finish 10th. We finish a lot lower than 10th. Now, look at the 2 previous seasons prior to last season and look at Richarlison's goals. Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't scoring 23 goals the season before last. He wasn't scoring 23 goals the season before that. It was Richarlison who was scoring those goals. It was Richarlison who was hitting 13, 14, 15, while Dom was hitting the same amount, and they were able to sort of, bounce off each other in that. So I like Richarlison, I do, and maybe Real Madrid would be interested in him, and maybe other clubs would be interested in him, but like I said, if he leaves, it's not because Carlo Ancelotti's left, and that's how the media will spin it, and that's how a lot of people might see it, that the club's fallen to bits, and Ancelotti's leaving, and now Richarlison leaving, but it wouldn't be, because we can't match his ambition, and ambition's a big thing, and I want to talk about ambition when I talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin in a second. I want to talk about James Rodriguez next as well. We are going to get in the live comments. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. But do I think Richarlison will go? I don't. But I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that article from The Athletic. It's to state that there's some big name Everton players contemplating their future, and that Richarlison was very upset by Carlo Ancelotti's departure. It sort of just does make you think, well, is he going to be one of those names that maybe thinks, you know what, it's time for me to move on and go and play somewhere else, and maybe go and further my career at a team that is playing in Europe and is playing European football constantly, because that's probably where he should be at, shouldn't he? Should Richarlison be playing in the Europa League at the very least? Yeah, he should. He's better than he's better than a lot of players that already play in that competition. So, again, it's a difficult one, it is, and it worried me that statement when I read it about big name Everton players, because it's so easy for us as fans to get that emotional sort of, get in that emotional state, which is, if you don't want to be at Everton, go. If you don't want to be at Everton, leave. We don't want players that don't want to be here. But what happens if, like I said, some big name Everton players, Dom, Luka Dean, Richarlison, James, all go, I'm going this summer, and they all go, and we can't replace them because our recruitment isn't good enough, or Marcel Brands maybe, isn't good enough to do that, let's say, for example, or, again, the players that could come in and replace them don't want to come to Everton because they want to go to Villa. Emi Buendia just signed for Villa today. What a signing he was. Why aren't Everton interested in Emi Buendia? Why aren't Everton trying to bring Emi Buendia into the football club? He's gone to Villa. James Ward-Prowse, linked with Aston Villa, heavily linked with Aston Villa. If Aston Villa signed James Ward-Prowse and Emi Buendia this summer, I think they could overlap Everton, to be honest with you, in terms of league position and in terms of fighting for European football next season. So it is a worry, and it's something we're talking about, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, and that's why I wanted to discuss it on the live stream, is because again, when I read the article and when I seen the statement, I did think, that's probably not the best of situations we can be in, given the fact that we've just lost our manager as well. If you are enjoying it, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Let's get into some of the live comments then. We will be talking about James Rodriguez in a moment as well. I do want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin too, because I think he's a topic of conversation at the moment. Sean says, yes, Cam lad, yes, Sean. Joe says, yo, mate, yo, Joe, hope you're doing well. Jason says, hi, Cam, hi, Jason. Philip says, howdy, Phil. ZIZ says, yo, mate, what's happening? Gavin says, it's only Richarlison, I would sell him, use the cash for 2 better players, Bailey and someone else. It all really does depend on how much you'd get for Richarlison, and whether or not these types of players would want to come to Everton. Would Leon Bailey want to come to Everton Football Club? Would Leon Bailey want to, give up his place at a Bayer Leverkusen, who are challenging in Europe and finishing in Europe, and Leon Bailey might be able to go and, get a move to one of the biggest clubs in Germany or one of the biggest clubs in Spain, etc. Would he take that step to Everton, who were a project, and this, that, and the other? And maybe with Ancelotti, you'd think, well, why had Ancelotti, Carla Ancelotti's there, but now would he, given the fact that we've got no manager, and whoever the manager is going to be, again, there's going to be somebody that you sort of think, oh, yeah, they could do a good job, but they mightn't do a good job as well. Would Leon Bailey want to take that step to Everton Football Club? I don't know. Joe says, I would love Nuno. I don't know about anyone else. Don't think Dunker's right at all. I'm not sort of convinced on Nuno, if I'm being honest with you. I'm sort of 50-50 on him. I'm back and forth, sort of. 1 minute I'm like, yeah, give it to him. He done a great job at Wolves, and the next minute I'm like, oh, he's a little bit sort of one-dimensional, if you like. ZIZ says Conte. I don't think that'll happen, but interesting. Celta Vape says expect James, Richie, and maybe Alan to go. I don't expect Alan to go. I don't think anybody is paying Alan's wages for the age of him, given the fact that he had a bad hamstring injury last season. I don't think Alan's going to go whatsoever. I think Alan will still be at Everton, even though obviously he did have a great relationship with Carlo Ancelotti, and the reason he's here is because of Carlo Ancelotti. I still don't see him leaving. It Wims a standard at Everton, no one works on the weekend. Well, maybe they do work on the weekend, mate, but we certainly didn't have anything come out from the weekend. Maybe they were in work hard at work, and he was sort of finding a replacement for Ancelotti, and I don't know, trying to figure out who should come in. But again, like I said, we didn't hear no solid transfer rumours or manager rumours over the weekend, did we? Let's be honest. Where are we then? I've lost where I am there. Here we go. Fewin says, get rid, I say. Our transfer business has been horrendous over the years. Seen a mad stat that we spent 100 million and only got 2 million in return for Walcott, Balassi, Schneider and Vesic. I say, yeah, I've seen that today. Shocking, really. Absolutely shocking. And that's what happens when you buy players that are of a certain age and have got absolutely no sell-on value whatsoever. And I understand that not a lot of people want to sort of, I get that not a lot of people are happy with the old sell-on value shout, oh, sell-on value FC, this, that and the other. And it was the same last summer when we signed James and Alan, and everyone went, oh, sell-on value FC, what are you saying now? These have got no sell-on value, but they're going to come in and do boss for us. And individually, yes, Alan and James both had a decent season, and I'd say they were a success individually, but let's be honest, will Alan have as good of a season next season as he did this season without Carlo Ancelotti? I don't know. Will James even be here next season? I don't know. So have they really been a success in terms of financially? Again, for me, that's what happens when you start buying players 26, 27, 27, 28, 29 years of age, is they've got absolutely no sell-on value whatsoever. And when you're paying £30 odd million for them, like Tossen, like Walcott, like Alan, like Schneidlin, etc., then ultimately you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything back for them, and you're going to be in a situation where you spend £100 million on a group of players and you end up making back £5 million, which is shocking financially. It's absolutely shocking. Whammy says, got all the time in the world through right, so no worries. Here you go. Philip says, I'd try twisting Conte's arm now he's turned Spurs down. I don't think Conte's coming anywhere near Everton, if I'm being honest with you, mate. He turned Spurs down, and I really don't see him coming anywhere near Everton Football Club. I really don't. I don't think he'd last 10 minutes here, to be honest with you. I just think he'd leave. I think he'd see our group of players and then go, nah, do you know what? Actually, they're not good enough for me. Remy says, hey Cam, hey everyone, Cam lad, how's everyone doing? I'm good, mate, thank you very much. Jason says, Ranieri, God help us. Remy says, hi Phil. Furin says, give it to Conchiascio. Is that the Porto manager? Just signed a new contract on Saturday, I believe, new 3-year contract. Or Ralph Rangnick, again, he's been rumoured over the last couple of days. Nothing really solid with him now. ZIZ says, Sari, and the Bitter Blue says, Richie will go if he knows what's best for his career. Well, anyway, let's wait and see on Richarlison. But one thing I would say, if you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all the support. One thing I would say about Richarlison is that him liking an Instagram post of Carlo Ancelotti doesn't mean that he's leaving and doesn't mean that he wants to leave. It just means that he's probably a little bit, a little bit naive and doesn't really understand that doing that could give off a bad sort of, a bad thought process to us Evertonians. I think he's just liked it, thinking I'm just liking a picture of a guy who I get along with who's gone and done well for himself, which I'm happy about. He's probably not happy about, but you know what I mean. I don't think it really indicates that he wants to leave the football club. But if Richarlison is to leave the football club, like I said before, it's because Everton haven't been able to match that ambition that Richarlison set out 12 months ago when he said he'd give us another year. Hopefully he doesn't. I don't want Richarlison to leave. Again, I get, and I'm fully behind that sort of, if you're not happy here, then leave. If you don't want to be at Everton, then we don't want you. I get all of that sort of stuff, and like I said, I believe in that as well. But the reality of the situation is we don't want to be selling our best players effectively because, Richarlison, like I said, over the last 3 years, his goals have been very important to Everton Football Club. Anyway, let's get on to James Rodriguez, who's one of the names in this list, and one of the players that the Athletic specifically mentioned. Not really. It was really weird the way the Athletic mentioned James Rodriguez, because they mentioned Richarlison and said that he was very disappointed or very upset or didn't take the news very well. And then he sort of just threw James Rodriguez in there to say, James Rodriguez might contemplate his future as well. And it was like, well, hang on. Is James Rodriguez really upset with the news, or is he unhappy? It just sort of says James Rodriguez's Everton future is also now in doubt. Why? Is it in doubt because he's come out and said it's in doubt? Is it in doubt because he doesn't want to be here? Is it in doubt just because Carlo Ancelotti's left? And we all know how much of a relationship James Rodriguez has with Carlo Ancelotti. I don't know whether we're all looking into this James Rodriguez thing too much, to be honest with you. And I'm guilty of it myself, because on Tuesday afternoon, when it was announced that Carlo Ancelotti had left the football club, I was pretty much convinced that I'd never see James Rodriguez in an Everton shirt ever again. I was convinced. I was bang on. If you'd have come on the stream on Tuesday or even Wednesday morning and said to me, Cam, what do you think about James' future? I'd say he's gone. I think I probably even said it. I said I think he'll leave. I don't think he'll be here next season. And that's because it's so easy to say that. It's so easy for us to sit here and go, yeah, James will leave because he's Carlo Ancelotti and he loves Carlo Ancelotti and he's only here because of Carlo Ancelotti, and now Carlo Ancelotti's left. Now, obviously I've seen over the last couple of days rumours linking him back with a move to Real Madrid. He won't go back to Real Madrid. I think Ancelotti already talked about that in his press conference, saying that he doesn't want him back, or that he won't be signing him back or something like that. So he won't be going back to Real Madrid. Now, maybe James Rodriguez will leave Everton next season. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll see this himself as an opportunity to go, do you know what? I don't want to be there anymore. I wasn't massively happy there anyway. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. And I don't want to be there. Carlo's not there anymore. I was only there because of Carlo Ancelotti. I've got a brilliant relationship with him. I don't know if I'll have a good relationship with the next manager, so I want to leave. And that's the easy thing to think, because that's the easiest situation to think about when it comes to James Rodriguez, doesn't it? Isn't it? It's so easy to go, right, Ancelotti's left now, so James will leave. But I remember thinking the exact same thing when Marco Silva left about Richarlison, because Richarlison and Marco Silva had a very similar relationship to what Carlo Ancelotti and James Rodriguez had, or have. And in that, I remember when Richarlison, was brought in by Marco Silva. Marco Silva basically said, don't worry about his price tag. This lad is absolutely unbelievable and he'll prove his worth. And he has done so far at Everton Football Club, in my opinion. He has. And I remember Richarlison coming out and saying, Marco Silva's like a dad to him. And I remember when Marco Silva left, I remember thinking that's it. Richarlison will go next summer. It wasn't as bad of a feeling at that time because Marco Silva needed to leave and he was sacked, and rightly so. Whereas with Carlo, he's just pissed off, really. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, won't you? So it wasn't that bad of a feeling, but I do remember thinking when Marco Silva left, right, that's it. Richarlison won't stay because he's here because of Marco Silva, and he has that relationship with him, and now he's gone. But he didn't go. He stayed, and he got his head down, and he worked hard. And a new manager come in, and he built a relationship with that new manager, and he wanted to stay at the football club, and he stayed, for another year. Well, he's still here now, and hopefully he stays beyond that. So maybe maybe, just maybe, we're looking a little bit too far into this James Rodriguez situation, and maybe James Rodriguez will be one of those names that goes, actually, do you know what? I like Carlo Ancelotti, and, you know, I'm very close with him, and he is like a dad to me, etc., etc. But Everton Football Club have put a lot of trust in me, they put a lot of faith in me, they pay me an awful lot of money to be here, and the fans absolutely love me, because let's be honest, we might have a moan about James Rodriguez, and we might have a little bit of oh my god, he's got on a plane 2 days before the end of the season, or oh my god, he's not fit again, this, that and the other, he's always injured. But whilst he's on the pitch, we all back him, we all support him like we do with every Everton player. And let's be honest, if we were to go to Goodison Park next season and James Rodriguez was putting on an Everton shirt, we'd all be in awe of watching a player of that ilk and that quality play for Everton Football Club, knowing what he can do. So maybe James will think, do you know what? I'll just stay where I am. I'm happy here. I'm comfortable here. I'll stay where I am. Maybe you'll think, this is a perfect opportunity for me to leave. I don't want to be here. We really don't know. Like I said, it could go either way. And I wouldn't be massively massively surprised either way. One thing I would say is Dennis says in the comments, he got on the plane before the last game of the season because he was too tired. He doesn't care about Everton. Wimmy says, not quite, Dennis. He had muscle fatigue in his calf. Carlo fucked it up, but even his heart was barely in it. Now he won't care. That's true. By the way, Carlo Ancelotti didn't do James Rodriguez any favours in that press conference when he come out. By using the word fatigued, he put out an impression that Carla, that James was tired and just didn't really feel up to it and wasn't fancy it. What he really meant, and it was lost in translation, and I don't think it was Ancelotti's fault, it was lost in translation. What he really meant is he had fatigue in his calf and his muscle, which basically meant he couldn't use his muscle. So it wasn't fatigued in the general sense as that we might think, yeah, he's fatigued, he's lazy, he can't be arsed, he's too tired. It was muscle fatigue, meaning that he literally can't use his muscle. There's a big difference between somebody going, oh, I'm a bit fatigued today, i.e. I'm a bit tired and I can't be arsed, and somebody having muscle fatigue in one of their calves, which very literally means they can't kick a ball because they can't do that. And look, and Dennis says, but he's hardly ever on the pitch, so what's the point? And look, maybe that James will have a difference in thought process now, and maybe he will want to leave the football club, and maybe he will see this as an opportunity to leave. And again, we won't know that until later on in the transfer window. I'm sure there's been some people saying that he could go to the MLS and go and play over there. David Beckham's team, which again is permanently looking for big, massive name players because of their brand, etc., etc. But I wouldn't be massively surprised if James Rodriguez stayed, and there's nothing that's come out yet is to state that James Rodriguez wants to leave. Now, James Rodriguez has been all over Instagram over the last couple of days, so posting pictures of himself home in Colombia with his friends and with his family, and it's great to see, and that's brilliant. Now, James might be sitting there at home thinking, I don't even need to worry because I know my agent's got me a move to Atletico, or my agent's got me a move to, somewhere else in Europe, and I know as soon as I land on that plane, I'm out of Everton, so I don't need to worry. Or he might be thinking, actually, do you know what? I can't wait to go back and play for Everton. I want to be there. I want to impress. I want to improve. The club have given me a lot of faith, even though Carlo's gone, which is not great. I want to still play for Everton. Who knows? Like I said, I don't believe or trust a word that any footballer says, and that was my point about Lucas Digne before. If Lucas Digne signed for PSG tomorrow, not that he will, and not that he's even been massively linked. There was one link which could be a load of nonsense. But if he was, I wouldn't be going back and searching through all these quotes about him saying about how Everton's a perfect marriage and he wanted to stay at Everton for a while, because footballers lie, managers lie, people in football lie, and they feed you what you want to hear whilst it's good for them, and then once they want to move on, it's like, oh, what I actually said doesn't really matter because I meant it at the time, but now I don't mean it, and it's a load of nonsense. So again, James is another name that I sort of think as soon as Carlo left, the first thing we immediately thought as Evertonians is, well, that's James gone, and maybe it is. Maybe he will leave, maybe he will move on, but the reality of the situation is we don't know that yet, and it's unfair, I think, to sit here as Evertonians. And again, look, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to think or how to feel, because everybody's got their own opinion, and that's great, and that's why we do this, and that's why football is such an amazing sport, is because everybody does have a different opinion. But personally, I think it's unfair to sort of attack James, or to say, he's lazy, he's this, he's going to go now, he didn't even care about the football club in the first place, because James Rodriguez might be sitting at home thinking, why are they all going at me? I haven't said I want to leave, because he hasn't said he wants to leave, to be fair. There's been no rumours about James leaving. There's been a statement there from the Athletic saying that James Rodriguez's future is in doubt. Now, they haven't said James Rodriguez has come out and said he wants to leave. They've basically said his future is in doubt. Now, that might be because he has come out and said he wants to leave, or he's told his close family that he doesn't want to be here, or that might just be purely because the Athletic have gone, well, he really likes Carlo Ancelotti. He had a great relationship with Carlo Ancelotti. He's here because of Carlo Ancelotti. So maybe he wants to leave because Carlo Ancelotti's left. And that might be the reason as to why they're saying his future's in doubt, when in reality, it mightn't be in doubt. He might be actually happy here, like Richarlison was, even though Marco Silva left. So, again, look, who knows what James will do. Who knows where James' future will be. Wayne says, well, Colombia are not letting him play, so he probably was unfit. However, you're generally right, Dennis. I think we can forget about James. Yeah, listen, he was taken out of Colombia's Copa America squad and their squad for their World Cup friendlies because of injury and because of the fact that he wasn't fit enough to play. So it's clear that he's got an issue. It's not just an Everton thing that, I don't want to play for Everton. It's clear that he's got an issue with injuries and he's got problems, and that's why he's not playing, not just because he spat his dummy and said I don't want to play for Everton. But look, who knows what James Rodriguez will do in the future. Who knows where James Rodriguez will go. Who knows if he'll be an Everton player next season. I'm sure a lot of Evertonians will say they don't think he will be, but he might be. He's contacted to Everton ultimately. He's contacted for another year. There is an option to extend for a potential third year, but as a baseline, he's contracted for another season. So if he's to leave, somebody would have to come in and pay money for him, and Everton would have to accept that money for him. Now James might be sitting there thinking, right, Carlo's left, I'm not really happy here, I'd like to leave. But then he might fly back on a plane in a couple of weeks' time, meet the new manager, whoever that might be, and he might go, actually, do you know what? I really like this guy. He's down to earth. He understands me. He understands what I am as a player. He understands me injury issues and the fact that, there's going to be times when I can't play and he's not going to rush me back and he's not going to rely on me. Maybe I'll stay here. Actually, I'm getting paid a lot of money and I quite like the new manager. Honestly, it's mad because as a fan, because of the pure emotion that's in this situation at the moment, we just go to 100. We just go to the assumption that James hates Everton, doesn't want to be here, hates playing for us, and now automatically isn't even going to come back to Liverpool, just wants to leave. And that might happen. That is a possibility, but there's also a possibility that he's thinking, yeah, I want to play for Everton. I like playing for Everton. I enjoy it there. Yeah, Carla was a big factor in me joining, but I like the club. I like the players. I like my teammates. I want to continue with Everton. That is as feasible as I'm saying, oh my God, I want to get off. I don't want to be here anymore. But because of the emotion in it, we all go to that. He doesn't want to be here. He wants to leave. When we don't know. We don't know really. The Athletic are saying his future's in doubt. That might be because of that relationship with Carlo Ancelotti, and people are just assuming that he doesn't want to be here, or that might be because he genuinely doesn't want to be here. We don't know. I'm more concerned about Richarlison saying that he was left quite upset about it, because that makes me sort of think, oh, hang on, why there? Was Richarlison, counting on Carlo staying to stay at Everton, or was Richarlison had that as good of a relationship? Will he be able to grow that relationship with another manager? Or obviously, it'll be his third manager of the club. But yeah, look, like I said, we don't know what's going on with James at the moment, and I don't think we should go at James and just have the assumption that he's definitely 100% going. Dennis says everyone knows he's gone 100%. I'm not saying he won't. I am not confident that James Rodriguez will wear the new Everton kit next season. I'm really, really not. But I also wouldn't be massively surprised if he is here next season, because ultimately he's contracted to Everton. Now, one thing I hope is that there's not a clause in James Rodriguez's contract, which is similar to the clause that was in Carlo Ancelotti's contract, which says that if certain teams come in for him, he can leave without any issue, because that's a nonsense clause. I don't even know why it was in Carlo's contract, and some might say, well, if it wasn't in his contract, he wouldn't be here, and that's fine, and that's a fair argument. But why Everton are putting clauses in contracts to say that basically if anybody else, bigger comes in for you, if anybody your choice comes in for you, you can just walk away without any if buts, or without any fight, without any sort of discussion, because it leaves us in a situation where there's always uncertainty, where we're sitting here going, if that player has a good enough, if let's say there's one of them in James' contract, we're sitting here going, well, yeah, if James has a great season, then he's likely to leave to somebody else, because there's a clause to say if a bigger club comes in for him, he can leave, or if a certain club comes in for him, he can leave, and if he doesn't have a great season, then he mightn't leave, but we haven't had a great season, so it's a negative, isn't it? Like the Ancelotti situation. Carlo Ancelotti has left now, but let's say he'd have stayed this season and that clause had still been there. If he'd have done really well at Everton, he'd have left because somebody else had come in for him. If, let's say, Real Madrid didn't come in for him this season and he'd done really well and got us in the top 4, and somebody else come in for him next summer, he'd go. So, yeah, we'd have done well, but we'd have lost our manager. Why we're putting clauses in contracts is to say that if players or if a manager if a certain club comes in for the manager, that they can just leave without any issue. Nonsense, absolute nonsense. For me, it's the same with players. And that's my only worry with James, is that there's a clause in his deal is to say that if a certain amount of, if a certain club comes in for him, he can go without any issue, because I just don't agree with that whatsoever. I really don't. But look, the reality of the James situation is we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether he'll be here next season. It's very easy, and I understand those fans that are saying he won't be, and he definitely won't be, and you're deluded, Cam, and I get that. I get all of that, and I understand it completely, and it is very easy for us to sit here and go, James 100% won't be here next season because he loves Carlo, and Carlo's gone, and this, that, and the other. But like I said, and I remember saying the same thing about Richarlison. I remember thinking when Marco Silva left, that's it for Richarlison. You'll never see him in an Everton kit again. And he got his head down, and he worked hard, and he worked under the new manager. I want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin in a second anyway, but we're going to get into the live comments before we do that. Ceci Capone says Big Dunk is the best man for the job. Look, we're going to talk about managers again over the next sort of couple of days or so. I wanted to take a break from the managerial stuff for the minute, because there's basically not been any update whatsoever. Eddie Howe has come in and thrown his name in the hat. Good for Eddie Howe, brilliant for him, innit? And Claudio Ranieri was linked in Italian media, which might be just an absolutely nonsense link. So I didn't just want to come here and again try and make up stories about managers where there's no stories to make up. We will be sitting down over the next couple of days or so and talking about specific managers themselves and how they could come in and do a good job at Everton. But I wanted to come away from the manager discussions for the moment and just talk about the players, and specifically, how Carlo Ancelotti's exit could affect the current Everton squad, which I think is a big talking point as well. Wavy Spoon says he left for far less money. Jabs Rail put him on 5. Yeah, I think he's on 5-6 million a year or something. I don't really care for Carlo Ancelotti now. If he does well, he does well. If he's earning a load of money, he's earning a load of money. I'm not really interested anymore. Manuel says if Nuno comes, we should definitely go for Neves and Goncalves, Sporting Lisbon. There are plenty of talented Portuguese players, but those two would be my pick. I like them both. I really do like them both. But I think what we have to understand as well as fans is that Nuno Espirito Santo coming into Everton Football Club doesn't necessarily mean that we're then going to sign, the best Portuguese players in the world, or we're then going to sign the best players that Wolves had to offer. It doesn't mean that Nuno is he might come in and he might favour certain players over others, but don't forget Marcel Brands is still directing the football, or should be directing the football, and if he doesn't want to bring in that level of player, then he won't. Pterodactyl says Big Dunk is the best man based on what? Stressy says Carlo left for less money and the chance he'd be sacked within the year. That's a very bad decision on any level. Yeah, well, there you go. Stressy says Big Dunk is the best man for the job. Jab says Carlo was a scab 11 million per year, and he leaves for more money, and all people praising a manager who equalled our worst home record ever. Well, he left for less money, which is mad. And yet, look, Carlo Ancelotti said this the other day. It's not the worst thing in the world that he's left. He didn't have a good home record at Everton. Again, he struggled at Goodison Park certainly last season, and whilst we were brilliant away, some of the football we played towards the back end of last season was disgraceful. It was absolutely shocking. But look, ultimately, again, it's not ideal that he's just walked away and left, leaving us now in a situation where we need to go and bring in a new manager. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. If you could subscribe, if you're new, that would mean a massive amount to me. If you could share the stream as well, that'd be absolutely perfect. Carl says Nuno to Everton, Southgate to Spurs. Who knows, mate? Who knows? Says he just get rid of Richarlison and Rodriguez, both a pair of mercenaries, only here for the money. Richarlison is shit, mate. He won't go on to anything special when he needs us. I like Richarlison. I do. I really like Richarlison, and I think he's one of our best players. And look, I think he's going to be a top player in the future. But that's fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, aren't they? Dennis says going to be hard bringing players in. Come to a mid-table Everton, going to be a really difficult season next season. I don't think it'll be a relegation battle, mate, but I agree it probably will be a really difficult season next season. He says I don't think he is lazy, but he's a luxury player, and we've got what we thought we would get, a James who only plays a third of our games. We haven't got the squad to depend on James. You're spot on, mate. You're absolutely spot on. We couldn't have James Rodriguez played 25 games last season. 25 games. Did anybody really expect anything more? from a player who we knew had massive injury issues when he joined us, from a player who we knew was always going to struggle to keep fit and remain sort of free from injury. Are we really surprised that he only managed to play 25 games? I think that's more than I expected in the summer, to be honest. If you'd have asked me when we first signed him how many games do you think he'll play, I think I'd have said less than 25 or 26, put it that way. Natty says he may not care where he goes as long as he can relax in the sun. Mama says Hammers usually waits how things turn out with the manager. Following up on Carla, we did stay at Bayern despite Carlo's departure after all. There you go. So, again, maybe Hammers will wait it out and see how he gets on with the new manager, and maybe he'll get on brilliantly with the new manager, who knows. Matt says, how can Everton ever attack the top players to break into the top 6 when with a 30-mile radius, 3 clubs bigger with more money, that being Liverpool, City and United? Thought easy, mate, easy. We do what Leicester do. We do what Leicester do every single year, and we don't attract the players that the top 6 club or the top 6 clubs want to attract. We don't try and go after those big name European stars who are already at the top. You go after your players like Yuri Tielemans, like James Maddison, like Wesley Fofana, like Boubacar Samari, who they've just signed, like Edouard from Celtic, who Leicester are just about to sign, I believe. You go after you bring through your like your Harvey Barnes from your academy. You don't go after those big name players. You go after young, hungry, athletic, physical players with a lot of quality who've got a point to prove. That's how you get into the top 6, exactly like Leicester did. And Leicester now are a better team and are in a much better situation than Tottenham are. They're a much better team than Tottenham. They're a better team than Arsenal are. They're a better team than, who's the other 4? Chelsea, City, United, Liverpool. There's an argument as to state that they're as good as Liverpool. Maybe and the other 3 maybe are a little bit better, but they're certainly roads and miles better than Arsenal and Tottenham. So yeah, that's how we do it. It's easy. Anyway, let's talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a second, because I think it's really, really important to talk about Dom. He, of course, is one of our big name players. Not saying he's one of the big name players that's contemplating his future. We don't know who those players are because The Athletic simply said they were big name players. They didn't say which big name players they were. But one thing we do know for certain is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is one of our big name players. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, yeah, Dom come out last night, I think it was, before England's game against Romania. Matt says Leicester are as good as Liverpool. Well, Leicester are bang up there, mate. Leicester are bang up there with the top 4 or 5 best teams in the league, whether you like it or not. They're certainly better than Tottenham and Arsenal. So yeah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin come out before England's friendly last night, and I think he had a little bit of an interview. He was starting the game, and he basically had an interview and he was asked about, I think, ambition and where he wants to be and where he sees himself as a player, and he come out and said something along the lines of I'm an ambitious player. I want to be winning titles. I want to be winning Champions Leagues. Of course, I want to be playing in those competitions and winning those competitions. But for now, I'm happy at Everton. Now, I think if it wasn't for that last sort of element of the sentence, I don't think anyone would have any issue whatsoever. The fact that he said, but for now, I'm happy at Everton, makes us all think, hang on a minute, does that mean that there's going to come a point soon where you leave? Does that mean, is that a bit patronising to say, but for now, I'm happy at Everton? I didn't really think it was. I had no issue with Dominic Calvert-Lewin's comments whatsoever, because basically what Dominic Calvert-Lewin's come out there and said that his ambition as a young footballer is to be the best footballer he can be, to play in the Champions League, to play in the league, and I've got no issue with that whatsoever. I'd have an issue if Dominic Calvert-Lewin come out and said, no, I'm happy where I am. This is the level I want to be at. This is my ambition. My ambition is to finish 10th with Everton. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin come out and said that his ambition is to be where he currently is now, finishing 10th with Everton, I'd say we should sell him in the summer, because that shows that he's got no fight, he's got no desire to improve, he's got no winning mentality to get better and to become the best player he can be. He's happy with mediocrity, and I think there's a lot of players at this football club who don't share those ambitions that Dominic Calvert-Lewin shares. I want a whole squad of players that want to play in the Champions League. I want a whole squad of players that want to win league titles. I don't want players in this squad that are happy with finishing 10th. I don't want players in this team, at this football club, at my football club, at our football club, that are happy at mediocre, mid-table finishes. If any footballer at Everton Football Club is on those books and is happy with where we finished last season, and their ambition is to just finish in and around there every year, then please do me a favour, walk out the door, don't turn around, don't look back, don't wave, don't say bye to anyone, just go, walk and keep going that way, and don't ever come back to Everton Football Club ever again. I want players with the mentality of, yeah, of course we want to play in the Champions League, of course we want to play in Europe, of course we want to win titles, of course we want to compete at the highest level, because what that shows is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin, along with Richarlison, who's probably got that mentality, along with maybe a couple of other names at Everton Football Club, that shows that they want to be the best that they can be. They want to win titles, they want to fight in the Champions League, they want to play at the top level. I've got no issue whatsoever with Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming out when asked directly about his ambition as a footballer and what he wants to do and where he wants to be. I've got no issue with him coming out and saying, I want to be fighting for titles, I want to be playing in the Champions League. No issue with that whatsoever. Now, some people were very quick to go into Dom and go, wow, you're not that good, mate, he's this, that and the other. I'll never understand this mentality that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's not good enough to play for Everton. The lad scored 21 goals last season, 16 Premier League goals. He's our best striker, barring Romelu Lukaku, who I think Romelu Lukaku's success at Everton has sort of hindered Dom weirdly, because it now creates a comparison between the two, and it's very difficult to compare Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Romelu Lukaku, because Romelu Lukaku was a generational talent, as he's shown in the years post leaving Everton Football Club. He's just won the league with Inter Milan, the first time they've won the league for however many years, so it's very difficult to compare Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Romelu Lukaku. But take Romelu Lukaku out the equation and out the situation, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the best striker Everton have had in a long time. A long time. Can anybody tell me consistently, other than Romelu Lukaku, in the last 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, a striker that is better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin is, whilst they're at Everton Football Club? I think you'll struggle. I really do think you'll struggle. And the beauty about Dominic Calvert-Lewin is that he can get better. He can get a lot better, and he wants to get better, and he wants to improve. The beauty about Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he is today, who's a very, very good, young, talented footballer, isn't the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he'll be next season. It's not the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he'll be in 2 seasons. It's not the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he'll be in 5 years' time. He's a fantastic young talent who is only going to get better, and that's the beauty of a player like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, is that we all know as Evertonians that he will only get better, he'll only improve, he'll only keep, building himself up and improving himself. I fully believe that Dominic Calvert-Lewin will score more than 25 goals next season in all competitions. He scored 21 this season, I think, or last season, should we say. I think he'll score 25 next season, and I think the season after he'll score more. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, statistically, by the way, every season at Everton has improved statistically with goals and goal involvements. Every single season at Everton, he's improved. So I've got no big issue with Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming out and saying that. Now, is there room for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to improve? Of course there is. I'm not saying he's the finished article, and that's the best thing about him, is we know and we can see as fans that Dominic Calvert-Lewin that we see today is the final product. He can get better, and he will get better. And I get that I'm saying, but for now I'm happy at Everton. Again, maybe is a bit of the wrong message, but I personally basically think what he's saying there is, look, I want to be at the highest level. I want to be fighting for Champions League. I want to be fighting for league titles. If Everton can't match that ambition, then maybe in a couple of years' time or a year after, maybe this is Dominic Calvert-Lewin's Richarlison season. And by that, what I mean is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's at that point now where he might turn around to the next manager or to Marcel Brands or to Farah Mashiri or whatever and say, look, I'll give Everton another year because I appreciate what the football club have done for me and I love the fans and I love being here, but if we're not playing European football the season after next, then I'm probably going to want to, I'm going to look at getting a move away. I'm going to look at moving on to a team that is playing European football, because let's be honest, can anybody argue that Dominic Calvert-Lewin deserves to be playing in Europe? I can't argue. Dominic Calvert-Lewin absolutely deserves to be playing in Europe, if not the Champions League, 100%, the Europa League, 100%. So, can anybody argue against that? So this might be Dom's, again, Richarlison season per se, in that, and by that I mean he might sit down with whoever the new manager is and say, look, welcome to the club, I love being here, I appreciate the club, but I've got ambitions to be the best player I can be. I've got ambitions to be one of the top strikers in the world. And if Everton can't match those ambitions, I might have to leave. In the same way as that Romelu Lukaku left because Everton couldn't match his ambitions. Now, Rom done it in a little bit more of a disrespectful way by going out on international duty every 10 minutes and talking about how he wants to leave and how he might leave and how he doesn't think he'll be here soon. Whereas Dom was pretty much saying, look, he's almost giving a warning to the club saying, look, this is where I want to be. Make no mistake about it. I'm not going to hang around here because for the sake of it, or because I like the club, or because I love the fans. Yeah, I love the fans and yeah, I like the club, but that's where I want to be. And if you can't match that, then I'm going to move on. Then it says DCL just done for 1 year, being terrible before this season. I think he's awful. I don't think he's been terrible whatsoever. I think he's been very good. He hasn't been good, maybe not good enough to be a striker competing for the top 6 in previous seasons, but now he is. He was last season. If we had goals in our team, if we had a competent winger that scores 10 goals a season, if we had a number 10 that scores 8 to 10 goals, if we had 2 midfielders that score 5 or 6 goals, then Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goals would be part of a team that's finished in the top 6. Then it says 25 goals. You messing, mate? No, I'm not messing. Scored 21 this season. That's only 4 more goals than what he scored this season. Does anybody really... Am I on my own in here that thinking Dominic Calvert-Lewin has got much more to show, much more to offer, and much more to improve on? I really, really do think he has. Pterodactyl says top strikers create their own goals. That's the next level for Dom. It is. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, by the way, saying Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the finished article and he's unbelievable and he can't get any better. Like I just said, that's the beauty of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He can get better. He's not the finished article. He will become a better player. And the next step is for him to start creating his own goals. His next step is for him to start, finding himself in situations where a goal mightn't be on the cards, but then he turns it into a goal. But like I said, I've got... no overbearing issue with Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming out and saying, I want to be the best player I can be. I want to be at the top of the sort of the food chain. And I know some fans might go, well, it's disrespectful to Everton. Well, it's not disrespectful to Everton. Go and bring in a manager that's good enough and capable, not just a manager who is got a boss CV like Carlo did. Go and bring in a manager who's good enough and capable of taking this Everton team and working with Marcel Brands to recruit players for this Everton team to make them good enough to play in Europe and to make us a good enough team to compete at the top ends of the league. Go and bring in a manager that can do that, that can, or a head coach, should I say, rather than a manager that can get these players going and that can, turn these players into real top European challenging players. Go and work with Marcel Brands and bring in a level of player, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, right back, right mid, right back, right wing, left wing, centre midfielder, backup striker that are good enough and improve this squad and give us enough depth to be able to go and finish in a Europa League position next season. And then you won't have to worry about losing Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You won't have to worry about losing Luca Dean because these players will ultimately... their ambitions will be matched. Wayme says, no, Cam, I think he's just an aerial monster. I don't think he's ever going to be a clinical finisher. One-on-one or take plays on to create his own chances. He just ain't that. Well, that's fair enough. And look, maybe Dom won't be that. I think he will be. But that's fair enough if people don't think he will be. And look, I think also what you've got to look at with Dom is that Dom has scored 21 goals in a team that doesn't really create much for him. For the majority of the season, we played negative defensive football and didn't really create much for him whatsoever. And he still managed to score 21 goals in that side. Imagine Dom was in a side where ultimately he had 2, like I said, really good wingers crossing balls into him constantly. He had Luca Dean being able to get up and put more balls into the box. He had a competent right back that can get forward and put balls into the box. He had a number 10, i.e. maybe a Hammers actually playing in a number 10, playing balls in behind him in through, like we did against West Ham. Ben Godfrey played that one ball in behind him and Dom used his pace and his power, got the right side of the defender and slotted it. Imagine we had players around him, around Dom, to benefit Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because we haven't got that at the moment and he still managed to score 21 goals. And like I said, I get that Dom, what we have to understand is Dom coming out and saying that isn't Dom coming out and saying I want to leave, and we shouldn't take it as Dom coming out saying he wants to leave, because that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is he wants to be at the best, and like I said, that's the mentality we need this football club. If you were to sat down, if you were to tell me, right, Cam, Dominic Calvert-Lewin said that he wants to be fighting in the Champions League, playing in the Champions League, fighting for titles, and he wants to be the best, the best that he can be. Or you've got Gylfi Sigurdsson there, who I've just spoke to, and not me, or whoever's just spoke to, and he said that he's happy to finish 10th in the Premier League every season. He's happy where he is. He likes where he is, and he's happy there. I'd say give me Dom's mentality over Gylfi's mentality all day long. And I'm not saying Gylfi has that mentality. I'm just using it as an example. I'd say give me Dom's mentality over any of that shit all day long, because if you're a footballer and you are content and happy and, at peace with finishing mid-table and being mediocre, then you're never going to be anything more than mid-table and mediocre. How can we expect players with a mentality of, 10th place finishes, alright, that's not too bad for us, that's alright for us. How can we expect those players to be good enough to play in Europe, because they haven't even got the mentality to want to be at the top of their game? So we need players who've got the mentality of, I want to be at the top of my game, I want to be playing in Europe, I want to be fighting in the Champions League, etc, etc. Now, all players might come out and say that everyone's mentality is like that, we all want to be doing that, but let's be honest, deep down, there's a lot of players in this Everton squad who aren't really asked about playing in Europe. They aren't really asked about fighting for titles. They're just asked about turning up, getting a fat wedge, and finishing in mediocre positions every season and not having to do an awful lot. Get those players and get anyone with that mentality out the football club ASAP. Move them on, because it's not good enough whatsoever. It really, really isn't good enough whatsoever. And like I said, I've got no overbearing issue with what Dom said. Little bit, maybe unsavoury that he said about, but for now I'm happy at Everton, because that sort of, again, it tells us the wrong message. It sort of says it's the wrong, Everton haven't got those ambitions that I've got. Maybe what he should have said is that he believes the club have got those ambitions and hopefully we'll be able to reach them together. That's what he should have said, really. But he didn't. Natty says, I'm not assuming anything after the way Ancelotti walked out leaving could be infectious. Yeah, I'm not assuming anything either. Like I said, The Athletic reporting that some big name Everton players are now contemplating their future after Ancelotti's exit. The title of this live stream isn't just me making something up. It's not me picking it from a random source. It's come from The Athletic, who are a very reliable source and very close to Everton Football Club. So we don't know who those big name players are, but I'm sure we'll see sooner rather than later. Samyak says, until when we'll come to know who is taking charge. Yeah, like I said, we'll be live tomorrow talking more about the managerial stuff and who's going to come in as the new Everton manager. We'll also be live, over the next coming days or so, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all of that good stuff, talking about the managerial appointments as well. But for now, ultimately, we don't know who's going to be the new manager. There hasn't been much of an update over the weekend, and listen, as soon as anything breaks, as soon as anything solid breaks, we'll be live on the channel, we'll be doing videos, we'll be doing streams, and we'll be providing the latest news and information. Pterodactyl says, reminds me of the days we used to hit eyeballs to Conte. Wayne says, that's fine. By the way, the club needs to recognise what Dom is and organise the team to provide the crosses. Imagine we had a team to support what Dom does. Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. Sidan says, Cam, thoughts on Samari and Edouard to Leicester? I think they're two brilliant signings. Absolutely brilliant. Joe says, maybe he doesn't believe the club can match his ambition, because I don't. Maybe he probably doesn't at the moment. He doesn't. But that's why the club have got to go out and show Dom and other players that have got those same ambitions that we can match them. Not just say, yeah, we can match them. Because Everton are very good at that. Let's not forget, Everton are very, very, very good at saying, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other, but they're never actually doing it. Everton are very good at saying, yeah, we want to be fighting for the Champions League, we want to be playing, in Europe, we want to be this, we want to be that, and then actually not doing any of it, and not showing through recruitment or through managerial appointments or through contracts for players, actually showing that that's what they want to do. They're just very good at saying it. Sammy says, that's why I put notifications on. Nice one, mate. Let's Go says, Dumfries is actually a shout at right back. He's a leader and very physical. Yeah, he is. I like him. He's a very good player. Pterodactyl says, it is Kev. We stink. Needs sorting top to bottom. Kev says, Everton, this is ridiculous now. 5 managers and no stability. Surely something at the top is the problem. It is, mate. It is. But there you go. There you go. There's a lot of changes need to be made at Everton from top to bottom. A lot of just it's not just playing staff that are useless and need to be moved on. There's a lot of other people at the club that need to be moved on because they're not doing the job properly. Natty says, Dom is great in the air, but yet again last night he put the ball in a one-on-one to the keeper's feet. Yeah, and he can improve. I'm not saying that Dom's the finished article and he's got no room for improvement. He's got a lot of room for improvement, and I suppose that's the great thing about Dominic Calvert-Lewin is that he will improve and he can improve, and it shows that he can only get better. Wayne says, if he had width and pace and spent all game fizzing crosses in with some other players who attack the box, Dom would be awesome. Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. I couldn't agree more. Let's Go says he's not clinical enough. I think for what he's got, and like I said, the players around him and the support around him, I think he's had an absolutely excellent season, to be honest. Abigail said, I'm not too bothered if Richarlison, Keane or James. I like him if he stays or goes. No players bigger than the club. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. William says... Oh, we read that one about James. Natty says, one good thing about Ancelotti going is we have a lot of fitness coaches, yeah. Fezzer says, who would he go to though? He's been at the biggest clubs in the world and it didn't work out and he's injured prone. Don't think the biggest clubs would take him. Talking about James there, fair enough. Reggie G says, Sean Dyche is a manager that would sort that dressing room out. Interesting, not being linked very much, Sean Dyche, but I know there's a few Evertonians that would like him to come. And Anders says he wasn't that lazy when he slipped the ball through to Richie in the derby. Every player's future is in doubt. They're employees who can move to other jobs and other clubs on them. Spot on. That's a spot on comment, that, mate. Again, I'm now sitting here at post Carlo Ancelotti. I'm now sitting here and there's not one Everton player who I'm completely convinced will be an Everton player next season. There's just not. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them left the football club, to be honest with you, because like I said, there's no loyalty in football, and don't believe a word that any footballer or any manager says to you, because they can switch like that. Anyway, look, we're going to end it there then. Massive thanks for watching. We'll have to see on this one. Like I said, I wanted to park the manager talk for a day or so, because there's not been much updates anyway, and like I said, you know, we will be talking about Nuno Espirito Santo a little bit later on in the week. We'll be talking a bit more about Duncan Ferguson as well, but I wanted to talk about the players today because I think it is a little bit it's a little bit worrying that, you know, the Athletic are publishing articles that stay along the lines of that there's some big name Everton players that are contemplating the future, and the likes of Richarlison you know, a little bit let's say upset about Carlo's departure, and you've got Dom coming out and saying that he's got ambitions of playing in the top, you know, at the top of the you know, of football in the best sort of competitions, and but he's happy at Everton for the minute. So I wanted to just come on and just sort of, you know, talk about it and give my 10 pence worth about it, really. If you've enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We will be back tomorrow morning around about 11, half 11 with another live stream, or around about half 10 actually with another live stream, so don't forget to join us for that one. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments, really do appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't get involved with all of the comments, but I really do appreciate all of your support. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Tom says we only got Richie and DCL that are our big players with any real money. I'm not too fussed if either or both left. Fair enough. Liam says I don't actually mind Nuno. I think he's nailed on. There you go, we'll wait and see. And Let's Go says I have a problem with DCL saying that, sending a message to the club that we need to get things sorted. I have no problem. Spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. I completely agree with that. Simon says Seamus Coleman would definitely saying Calix says Seamus wouldn't go. Yeah, because no one wants him. Seamus Coleman, I love Seamus Coleman and he's brilliant and he's dead loyal to Everton and he's Mr. Everton and this, that and the other, but he wouldn't go because no one would take him. Anyway, big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Join us again tomorrow morning for another live stream. We're going to talk more about the managerial appointments as well. William says, can't it be like a half-one stream? Well, maybe we'll do a little bit later. If it suits, maybe we'll do a couple tomorrow. Who knows? But big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.